bill, and she had a balance of 50 minutes. Senator Crystal Asige, you may now continue with moving this bill.
Listen to me carefully. Listen to me carefully.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker. I appreciate another opportunity before the House to continue moving this bill that I began moving last week, but unfortunately I was cut short due to an adjournment of the House. But I think there is a silver lining to that, Speaker, because I see that there are more senators in the House today to have a listen to this bill proposal and hopefully consider the provisions that I seek therein. Mr. Speaker, this is the County Government's Election Laws Amendment, Bill number 2 of 2022, which seeks to amend the Elections Act, Cap 7, and the County Governments Act, which is Cap 265, to increase representation of persons with disabilities in the county assemblies by ensuring, Speaker, that at least 5% of members of a county assembly are PWDs. This is geared, Speaker, towards addressing the historical exclusion of PWDs from decision-making processes by ensuring adequate representation of us in local governments, that is, county governments, thereby ensuring that our voices are heard and our interests and needs are taken into account in decision-making across all 47 counties. Article 177 of the Constitution, Speaker, provides for the composition of a county assembly, as we know. Specifically, Article 177C provides that the county assembly shall include members representing marginalized groups, including persons with disabilities, that's PWDs, and the youth, as well as marginalized group, as prescribed by an Act of Parliament. With a view of implementing this Article 177 of the Constitution, Speaker, 1C that is, Parliament has enacted 2 laws since then, the County Governments Act and the Elections Act, that prescribe the number of members to represent marginalized groups, as well as persons with disabilities and the youth in our county assemblies. Whereas Section 7(1)(a) of the County Governments Act provides for 6 seats for marginalized groups, Speaker, Sections 36(1)(f) and 36(8) of the Elections Act provide for only 4 seats. So this is where the discrepancy or the confusion lies, and I wish my amendment bill proposal to remedy. Mr. Speaker, last week when I was moving the bill, I did give the House a list of county assemblies that right now have 0 representation of persons with disabilities. And I wish to go through that list for the sake of members once again. Mr. Speaker, counties which did not nominate members to represent persons with disabilities in the last election include Kwale, Kilifi, Taita Taveta, Wajir, Marsabit, Isiolo, Meru, Tharaka Nithi, Machakos, Makueni, Turkana, West Pokot, Trans Nzoia, Uasin Gishu, Baringo, Laikipia, Narok, Kericho, Nyamira, and the capital city of Nairobi. And I hope that the majority leader is listening, because his county, which is Kericho, is on this list as having no persons with disabilities in the county assembly. Thank you. Speaker, counties which did not nominate members to represent the youth include Machakos, Makueni, Kirinyaga, Kiambu, Nandi, and Kisii. And counties which did not nominate any members to represent other marginalized groups include Garissa, Murang'a, Elgeyo Marakwet, Narok, Kakamega, and Kisii. you'll find, Mr. Speaker, from these three lists that there are some counties which have no representation for 2 out of the 3 marginalized groups that they should have representation for, including counties like Kisii, Kakamega, which have 2 groups that are missing in their county assemblies, which of course then creates a huge gap in terms of representation and for our needs in the county level to be represented and looked into by the assemblies. In light of the considerations I have outlined as a quick background, allow me to highlight the salient features of this bill. It has 3 clauses, Speaker. Clause 2 seeks to amend Section 36 of the Elections Act to provide that A political party will be required to submit a list that includes 2 candidates representing the youth, 2 candidates representing marginalized groups, and 2 candidates with disabilities, reflecting the diversity of persons with disabilities in our wards across the respective counties, Speaker. The reason why I wish to decluster the 6 that are provided for in the 2 acts I have highlighted is because when you just have a number, a blanket number of 6 to represent these 3 different interest groups, Mr. Speaker, there is some mischief that sometimes is seen, whereby different parties decide on their own how many of the 6 will be given to PWDs and how many of the 6 will be given to youth and how many of the 6 will be given to marginalized groups. However, my amendment seeks to decluster the 6 and expressly say that 2 out of the 6 will go to PWDs, 2 out of the 6 will go to youth, and 2 out of the 6 will go to marginalized groups to remove that confusion or that gap that we see today. The party list for candidates with disabilities must also consider different categories of disabilities, including physical, hearing, visual, and neurodiverse disabilities. The reason this amendment comes, Mr. Speaker, in my proposal is because we've seen historically that disability is often just seen as people with mobility impairments, a wheelchair user, for example. Maybe because the international symbol for PWDs is a wheelchair. That is a symbol that we all see and we all know and identify with disabilities. However, when we just focus on wheelchair users, for example, or those with physical impairments, we forget that our counties need representation of other disabilities, diverse disabilities. Speaker, there are hundreds of disabilities. And I believe that with my amendment that I'm seeking, by expressly saying that they have to be diverse disabilities that are represented in the counties, this will hopefully remedy when it comes time to nominations within the parties. Speaker, I would love to wake up one day to a country that is proud to embrace diversity in its governance systems and its leadership. I want to live to see a person of short stature as an MCA and that be normalized. Members of Parliament from the deaf community, that be normalized. A governor with autism, perhaps, and that be normalized. And perhaps, Mr. Speaker, one day even a visually impaired president, a VIP, which may sound far-fetched, but 2024, if anything, has shown us that nothing is impossible in this country. Mr. Speaker, the IEBC will select from the candidates with disabilities to ensure that at least 5% of the members of a county assembly are persons with disabilities in my bill proposal, following the order provided by the party. Mr. Speaker, also Clause 3 seeks to amend Section 7 of the County Governments Act to provide that the members of the county assembly contemplated under Article 177 of our Constitution shall comprise a man or woman nominated to represent the youth and a man and a woman nominated to represent marginalized groups, and 5% of the total number of members in this assembly to represent the youth, marginalized groups, and comply with the 2/3 gender principle, nominated to represent PWDs, Mr. Speaker. So, I repeat, 5% of the county assembly, as envisaged in the Constitution, should be persons with disabilities at the local level, Mr. Speaker, in these amendments that I propose. Clause 3 further seeks that nominees of the 5% of PWDs shall ensure representation of the various categories of disability, again, physical, hearing, visual, and neurodiverse disabilities, again, to ensure that the face of our county assemblies replicates or mirrors the face of Kenya, because we are not homogeneous in terms of disability, Mr. Speaker. There are hundreds of disabilities that also need representation at the local level. It's imperative, Speaker, that we transform these constitutional and legal mandates into tangible actions, in my view, ensuring that PWDs and the youth and marginalized groups across the country are given opportunity to actively participate and contribute to our nation's governance and leadership, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, I also want to highlight, even at this national level, even though this is the County Governments Act that I am seeking to amend, Mr. Speaker, even right now, in this House, as we speak, we are not 5% of persons with disabilities. Out of 67, 5% of PWDs should be at least 3. And we have seen in the last few weeks the back and forth that can happen when you do not follow specific increments that are provided for within the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. 67 of us means that 5% should be persons with disabilities, but right now we are only 2 in this House, and even more so in the National Assembly, where there are only about 12 PWDs represented out of 349 members of Parliament, which is far below the 5% envisaged in the Constitution. So, technically, Speaker, local level and also the national level, we are not complying with the Constitution as per Article 54. Mr. Speaker, I want to leave it there so that I can allow the rest of the House to give me their opinions and share their views on this bill proposal. I do hope that they do come with suggestions and contributions that will help me to refine and to enrich this particular bill proposal, Speaker, because it affects every single county. Like I named all the counties above in this, while I move this bill, Mr. Speaker, it absolutely is incumbent on all members of Parliament and all senators in this room to help and make sure and ensure that persons with disabilities, youth, and marginalized groups across the different counties that they represent are fully and meaningfully included in matters of governance at the local level. Speaker, with those few remarks, as I close, I do beg to move and wish to call upon Senator Mungatana. He's not here. I do wish to call upon my majority leader of the House to kindly second this bill. Thank you.
Yes, Majority Leader, you may